Well, the first day of early voting for the Voice referendum has begun for some states. The Prime Minister remains optimistic for the Yes campaign, saying people are noticing its positivity. Joining me now live from Melbourne is Yes 23 Campaign Director Dean Parkin. Dean, appreciate your time as always. Thank you. We're in the final 2 weeks now. It's crunch time. We've been speaking to people on the ground, even at pre-poll today, and some of the feedback that's coming in is still, we don't know what it means. What does the Voice mean, and will it divide the country? You've got 2 weeks. What will you do to convince voters at pre-poll to vote yes?
Well, Danica, this is where the months of hard work by the Yes campaign will come into play. This is where our 50,000 volunteers across the country, they'll be out at every one of those polling booths around the nation as the Australians get ready to vote. And it is a great opportunity to have this conversation about what we are actually voting on. This is why the No camp has been so determined to talk about everything other than recognition through a voice. It's because when you do have that conversation with people, as we will over the next 12 days, there's a lot of openness to that, there's a lot of goodwill, and so that's why we've put so much work into building that network of fantastic volunteers who are out there with a lot of positivity, as the Prime Minister said, talking to Australians as they make this really important choice over the next few days.
Well, the Prime Minister a short time ago said that the key to getting this over the line now is speaking directly one-on-one to voters. Given that polling suggests a win for the No camp, is that enough now to get you over the line?
Look, that is what we're focused on doing. That is the entirety of our effort. And we know that there are a lot of people that really haven't put their minds to this. There's a lot going on in people's lives, and as with any election, Australians tend to really put their focus into their decision making much closer to the vote. So 12 days out, there's plenty of time for us to have that conversation, and we'll be very clear. We'll be very clear that there is a very clear choice in this referendum. A yes vote gives us a real recognition and a chance for practical change, whereas a no vote gives us absolutely nothing. It takes us nowhere. And Australians are really starting to turn on to that idea that voting no takes us nowhere, whereas a yes vote gives us a real chance to make a practical change in the lives of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander families and communities. And again, as we have that conversation on the ground, a very different conversation than that in the media. There's a lot of generosity and goodwill there, and that's what we'll continue to focus on between now and the 14th of October.
What are people asking you as you're travelling around? You've been travelling so much over the last few weeks and now obviously at early pre-poll. What do they want to know about the Voice? What is the key question they have?
Well, largely they just want to know, is this going to have a practical impact on the lives of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples? And the answer is yes. And the only answer to make a practical change for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples is to say yes. And when you have that very simple conversation, we're talking about a very simple concept, a committee made up of Indigenous peoples providing advice on those issues that affect our families and communities, because we know that when you listen to what Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have to say, you get better outcomes, you get better results, people live better lives. That's the opportunity that everybody has in voting yes, whereas as I say, a no vote, it locks us in to where we are right now. It locks the men in the APY lands in South Australia into a life expectancy of 48. And for many Australians, when they hear that in 2023, they think we should be doing better, and the only way that we can do something better is by voting yes.
There's new polling out today showing that there's been a slide in the number of Labor voters who will actually vote yes. What is turning the base off supporting this? And again, it comes down to why I asked you about what are people asking you? Why are people turning away from it?
As I said, there's a lot going on in people's minds right now, but to be honest with you, the only polling that we're interested in right now, the only polls that we're interested in is the one that I'm standing in here and the many others that are around the country right now where Australians are actually casting their vote. I think we've had enough from the published polls. We're right in the thick of this now in terms of people actually getting out there and voting. That is why we are 100% focused, and that's why we'll have our volunteers on the ground, and that's why you'll see some advertising come out soon that really shows that this is a very clear choice for Australians. We get to say yes to something good, or we get to say no and just keep us where we are, and that's just not good enough. Even the No camp themselves acknowledge that what's happening in communities right now is not good enough The only thing is they don't have any solutions. That's why a yes vote's so important.
Before we let you go, Dean, regardless of the outcome in 2 weeks' time, do you think there could have been a different path had this just been a referendum on recognition?
Well, but that's what we're talking about, Danica, and I think it's really important to understand there is only one option for recognition. There isn't recognition and the voice. The voice is the form of recognition. That's what Indigenous peoples have said very clearly. And those other people that have tried to say, well, if we had to split the two, yet again refuse to listen to what Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have said, is that the recognition for it to be meaningful is only in the form of a voice. And that is why we're asking people, when they understand that, is to say yes, that is the only way that we can move our country forward together, and that is the only way that we can actually start making some real practical change in communities.
All right, big 2 weeks ahead, Dean Parkin. Good to speak with you as always. Thanks for joining us.